Welcome back to the Samantha Show. I'm your host, Samantha, or you can call me Sam. Just don't call me late for dinner, right, Dad? Isn't that how it goes?
That is correct. That is right.
Thank you guys for tuning in today. Really excited. I know you got to hear from my mom a couple weeks ago, and today I'm bringing in the second half. I've got my dad on here today, Mr. Sandy Curtis. Dad, hello. Welcome to the podcast.
It's an honor, and it's going to be tough to follow up your mother's interviews, but I'll do my best.
I'm excited to have you on, Dad. I'm bringing you on here today because I want to talk about money talks, but your ability just to kind of organize life and money and, find that balance and control. So before we kind of dive into our money talks conversation, can you give the people who are tuning in a little background on you, education, career, just share a little bit?
Great. So I'll start with my education. I got an undergraduate degree from Wright State in economics business, Bachelor of Science. I've got a Master's of Science from Wright State in economics. I have an MBA in finance from Wright State, and I'm a certified public accountant. I started my career in finance, so to speak. I was really part of a finance company called Beneficial Corporation, and they were one of the very first subprime lenders, making high risk loans and recovering high returns. So I did that for about 12 years, then tried to go out on my own and become a certified public accountant with the intention of becoming a certified financial planner. I thought if I could be a CPA and I could do tax returns, that's how I could get people through the door, by doing their tax returns, and then start giving them financial advice and start my career that way. That failed pretty miserably, but it gave me a chance to really dedicate 6 months of my life to pass the CPA exam. So I really didn't work that much because I didn't have any work to do. So I was able to study for 6 months and pass the CPA exam. I was able to pass all 4 parts on the first try, which is sort of unique. I think the percentage, only 5% of the people who've taken the exam have done that. So I'm pretty proud of that fact. So with my certification, I decided to dabble into public accounting and started work for a small 4-person firm in Westchester. They introduced me to public accounting. That was a good experience for me because it started off very small, very low key, but they did some high level accounting. They did some audit work, which was pretty unique for small firms like that. So that introduced me to the field of public accounting auditing, which is exciting. And after about 5 years of traveling south and working for them, things were going well, but our life was geared towards the north, towards Dayton. So I just sort of randomly went and got the book of lists and looked for the top 20 accounting firms in the Dayton area. Was very fortunate to get hooked up with Battelle and Battelle because I was mature. I was coming in as a new accountant. So I was fortunate enough to get with what I thought were the flagship clients with the firm. So I was introduced to some crown jewel clients, and it was just a great learning experience. And after 5 years with them, they decided that they enjoyed all I had to offer, but everything I had to offer, that was it. And I went to another firm, Hammerman, Graff and Hughes. They were looking for someone who was seasoned and experienced, and was fortunate, and I fit that mold and just started a tenure with them. And it was a great experience. In auditing, you're dealing with successful top people and real smart people because they're larger companies, and I loved all that. And after 11 years with them, thanked me for all my efforts, and they escorted me out of the building. I had already started the process. I was going to be leaving them after the next tax season, but they let me go in October. So I'd already started the process of looking to buy my own firm. To bring your listeners in, I had the vision that you and I could join this accounting firm, and we could transition. I could teach you accounting over the next 4 years, and then transition into what I had. But you said, Dad, thanks. It was a great experience, but I'm going to escort myself out of the building and let you go. And I've then retired, and I now have 80 clients that I do their tax returns with and give them some financial advice. Although I tell everybody I don't give financial advice, but I can give my life experiences and let you put those pieces together. I enjoy that. That's great because these people are coming to me personally and they count on me. And so that gives me some satisfaction and reward when I do it really as a payback to all the things that have been given to me. It's just worked out perfectly. And I'm very happy with the way everything has turned out. And I can't let the people know how much I appreciated them escorting me out of their lives when it was the right time. So thanks to all of them. And here we are today.
Yeah, there's been, in the last couple podcast episodes, this theme of timing and when things happen, and even when in the moment it's kind of like what's going on here, and then another door opens or we head down another path that makes more sense, and then when we look back, it's like I'm glad that all happened how it did. So I hear that when you speak. Well, you've always been my go-to when it comes to questions about money. As you said, you even now you help people with their tax returns and offer financial advice via personal experience. So I was thinking maybe I could ask you some questions here today, and you can give us, based on your life experience, some thoughts around money talks, and different money situations.
I
That
would be
sounds
more
good.
than happy to share my opinions. Yes.
Perfect. So I remember definitely through college, maybe a little bit after, and then I finally fell out of habit. But one thing I think you really taught me was to balance a checkbook. I mean, handwritten balancing a checkbook. And I remember always kind of getting not teased, but by my friends when I'm collecting receipts and stuffing them in my purse and handwriting out my checkbook in my dorm room. Do you think people now, with everything being online, we don't really write checks like we used to? Do you still think it is important to balance a checkbook or to keep such close track of those types of things?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, and you triggered an old memory of a client that we had. I had a sort of medium-sized company. They did about $10 million in sales, and they hired this new controller, and he was certified. He had passed the CPA exam, so the guy had some intelligence. But when I went in there and we were doing some of test work, so it was like auditing. I go in and I go, how much do you have in the bank account? Because we have auditors have a saying that if the bank is not in balance, nothing's in balance, because balance sheet your debits have to equal your credit. So cash balance has to be in balance, and you have to know what it is, and it has to agree with what's on the books for the company. If that's not in balance, that means something else is not in balance, which means something else is not in balance. So it always starts with cash. So I sat down with him and, let's see your bank reconciliation. And he goes, I don't do bank reconciliations. And he was your age, he was your generation. And I said, I can relate to that, but this is a business. And if you don't want to balance your own checking account, that's fine. But this is a business. You've got to, and he struggled. It was very difficult. Again, this is not somebody who's new to accounting. He's been degreed in college in accounting. He's had some accounting experience. He's passed the CPA exam, so he's smart, but he couldn't balance a checkbook. So from a business perspective, yeah, you got to balance your checkbook. So I take it to the next level, and to myself personally. And the big part of my habits or the way I conduct my life is through visualization. You got to visualize it. And then if you can visualize it, it can happen. Your body, your mind all works around what you're visualizing to get it to accomplish that. So to me, yeah, you have to know how much is in you're checking. You have to know, because if that's not in balance, you don't know how much you got to pay your credit cards. You don't know how much to pay your bills, and you have to list all those out. So, but I understand the new generation. It doesn't say it's right or wrong, but I understand it. I don't necessarily perhaps agree with it. Again, these are my opinions. My checkbook is balanced, but I know your mother's checkbook is not balanced, and that's all in good. So yes, in my opinion, I think it is important, again, not just to balance your checkbook, but it lets you visualize, because bills are coming up, and can you pay those bills? If you don't know how much is in your checking accounts, your rest of your life is out of balance.
I this got me thinking too. Maybe I should get back in that habit. I think too, with our day and age, everything is so automated. So your Netflix is coming out, your Disney Plus is coming out, your gym membership is coming out, like all of these bills that come out automatically every single month, and I know, when you look at your bank account, that's not always accurate because tomorrow, the next day, or, a week from now, there may be multiple things coming out that you're just not even anticipating. So maybe I'll get back into that habit again.
Maybe, maybe.
So along the same line of just kind of being aware of what's coming in, what's going out, it is so easy, as you have taught me, to swipe that credit card and, you can just pay it back. Like when you get the money, you'll just pay it back. And it can be a very slippery slope really quickly. So if someone were to all of a sudden kind of turn around and be like, what have I gotten myself into? What are some tips or advice to maybe start to dig your way out or plan to get out of that situation?
Yeah, that's a tough situation, and that's a situation I've been in. I've made it public to try to reiterate to you and anybody else I come into contact to. But I think at the maximum point in our lives, we probably had close to $80,000 plus in credit card debt, and it does start, and it can build. And as I've mentioned to you and tried to preach to you as a father, those things are evil. Those things are just evil because it's just so easy to use. Money is so easy to borrow. And one does not really consider how to repay it. But the fact is, if you are having to borrow on a credit card to maintain your standard of living, how are you going to repay that credit card? Because I guess that's the big hump. It's like, okay, fine and dandy to use it. But again, I'm speaking from somebody who took 20 years to get into debt and took me 10 years to get out of debt. It's easier said than done. And now I'm just preaching to try to help people not get into that hole. But the way that I got out of that hole, again, it's all about visualization. So I started and I wrote down all my bills, the money I knew I had to come up with at the next paycheck. I would have, when your mother was going to get her paycheck, how much it was going to be. When I got my paycheck, how much it was going to be. And then I listed out what bills are we going to pay with that. So again, it's visualization. So it's there. I call it a budget, but it's not really a budget because if we never really limited ourselves and said we can't afford this trip because we have $60,000 in credit card debt, and at some point you have to draw the line. 60,000 wasn't it, so we take the trip and figure it out later. But we were blessed with two successful careers, mildly speaking, and our incomes were increasing and bonuses were coming in. So money was coming in. What triggered is we bought our house that we live in now. We had it built and we put all the furniture in. And, that's when we reached about $80,000 in credit card debt. And we just finally said, that's enough. We're going to window this down. But there is no quick fix. I mean, it took us 15, 20 years to get into the hole, or, even if it only takes 5 or 10, with credit cards, it could take you only 3 or 4 years to get in the hole. The hole is there and there's just no quick fix. I like to equate it to dieting, and to diet and to lose weight, you have to get rid of more calories than you take in. It's just as simple as that. So if you're going to eliminate credit card debt, you just have to make financial choices and you try to balance it so that you don't make your life so miserable. Like in a diet, you don't try to starve yourself to death because that's not going to last. So I always use the 20,000 foot view of when money came in, like a bonus or something special. It'd be a third, a third, a third. A third would be to pay off or work on paying off the debt. A third would be to buy something for the house, and a third would be, if it was my bonus, I'd spend it on myself. So I tried to use that approach, and yeah, it took us probably 10 years. And I just in 2022 was the first year I started paying off our credit cards every single month. So, I'm now 63. So it took me until I was 61, and it took me until about 55 to get into the debt. And it took me a good 10 years to get out of it. It's just a slow, steady process, but you just got to stick with it. There is no quick fixes in my mind, and you can double up and try to win the lottery, or you can make a 50-cent bet and win $17,000. And you do that, but that's not something to count on. So our income was very steady, so it was easy to do. And it was always increasing. So that helped our life situation, assisted with our accomplishing it.
So I have friends, multiple friends who will I'll hear say, and this is not that they're right or wrong, but yeah, but if you get the Delta credit card or the Disney credit card or this credit card, you earn points. And as long as you pay it off right away, you get the points. And what are your thoughts on the mindset or people behind that?
Well, I'm in that mindset now because again, we are now paying it off monthly, and on your mother's and my credit card, we get 2% on every purchase. We get cash back, so we are getting points, and um, we still do spend a lot of money. So we do, that can bring in a couple $1,000s for us because we use our credit cards to live daily. And then every month, though, then I'm paying it off. I'm taking money out of our retirement account and paying it off. So I see those benefits. And if you have the financial discipline to pay it off monthly, more power to you and go for it. So all I know is the credit cards I had when I was younger, they would always speak to me in my dreams going, use me, use me, use me, use me. And then I didn't pay it off monthly. So like I said, it took 40 years to finally pay it off monthly. But if you got buddies that are using it, getting the points and paying it off monthly, go for it. Good for you.
I think, two things like you had said, financial discipline is a huge one. And we in our brief connection the other day, don't spend more than you don't have. And then you can, as long as all those things are in line, you'll be okay.
Yeah, the hardest thing is to don't spend what you don't have because the mindset, my mind, I only speak for myself. My mindset was, okay, I don't have it today. I might not have it next month, but I know I get bonuses. I know your mother's going to get a bonus. We can sort of take care of it then. But that's the evil to them. It's always like tomorrow. It's like, again, dieting, okay, well, there's nothing wrong with having a nice big dessert. That's fine. But then you can't have a bigger dessert the next day and then a bigger dessert the next day. I mean, it just, yeah, at some point you can't, yeah, you can't spend more than you bring in, or it doesn't have a happy ending.
That makes a lot of sense. That also reminds me that I really wanted to get over to Crumble Cookie this week and try the new graham cracker or graham Teddy Graham cookie and moon pie.
No, go for it, man. Go for it.
Several of the things we've talked about, and especially with money or anything in life, when we're going to make mistakes, and hopefully we don't make too many money mistakes, but it's going to happen. And we have to learn from it and adjust and just be very aware again, I think, of where we're at financially, what's coming in, what's going on. And I love your comment about visualization as well. I think we often do that, to your point, maybe with weight or physical goals or, mental and meditation. But I think that there's something to be said about doing that around finances and money as well. So I really like that. I want to take our conversation now to a little more kind of fun, but would love to hear your opinion and then share my opinion on the best thing to spend money on.
Oh, on the best thing, I'm pretty passionate about life experiences, and that's either through travel or going to concerts or taking my family, you and Gracie and Joe, and having life experiences with everybody, or just your mother and I, and looking forward to going out to Washington State to see my buddy's daughter get married, and those things last forever. So to me, any type of life experiences that gives you memories to last forever, that's the best thing you can spend money on.
I was thinking, what do I love to spend money on? And the list is quite long, but I find it easiest for me to pull the trigger, maybe because I'm vain, I'm not sure, on things like hair, nails, tan, gym, things that I like to do to fix myself up. So, but I kind of appreciated in our conversation the other day about experiences and spending money on experiences because you remember them, or, you hold on to the memories, hopefully happy, great memories. And I was thinking too about me spending money on things like hair, nails, all this fun stuff. But I find that I feel more confident and therefore happy and, feel like I can take on more when I feel very put together. And I feel like I thrive the best when I feel very comfortable and, confident in that way. So hopefully that helps justify some of my vanity spending.
Well, yeah, but I don't think that's uncommon at all. That's why you have ultra beauty products do so well that are so expensive. And they're studying the economics. There was a thing going when the economy goes into recession that beauty products typically do better, those type of stocks, because people are feeling miserable. They're feeling down. Guys, we're husband's losing a job, we're getting our hours cut back. So yeah, you spend money on yourself and you make yourself feel better. So I think that's part of the life experience. Yeah, as you said, gives you confidence. It just makes you feel better the day. It's like, I try to follow your eyelash posts or whatever, and I'm not sure I fully get it, but you're obviously into it and very passionate about it. So you're getting joy from that. And yeah, I mean, if you got to spend money to do that and get joy, that's the whole idea about experiences in my mind.
So what do you think is the worst thing to spend money on?
I had my own newsletter when I started out trying to do business on my own. And one of my editions of those newsletters, I don't know if you recall, but I'm confident I shared that newsletter with you and Joe early on in your relationship. And I was just talking about Bill Clinton getting elected, but it talked about the worst thing to spend money on. And it was clothes. It was, clothes, they have a purpose in regards to keeping you warm, and you got to spend money on clothes. I mean, one of the big books in my era was Dress for Success. So, I couldn't be a public accountant. I couldn't go to these clients whose CFOs are making hundreds of thousands of dollars, in cargo shorts and wearing a polo shirt. You had to have a nice suit and you had to present yourself that way. But overall, of all those aspects, I think clothes and furniture. The other one is furniture. I shared with you during our session the other morning that our bedroom furniture that we have upstairs that nobody ever sees was back from my first marriage, back in 1978. So it's going on, 50 years, 45 years. But it provides places for pictures that I can put of you and Gracie and Joe and your mother, and it provides storage for our clothes, and the mirror still works so we can see how good we are looking. But that's a matter of opinion. Most people would say our stuff is pretty dated and it's pretty old fashioned. But
No comment. No comment.
To me, I think it's pretty cool. I'm proud of it. I'm proud of it. So it's good enough for me, and I'm proud of it, and I'm not ashamed of it. So that's good enough for me. But it goes back to just what we were commenting on, though. If it brings you happiness and joy, it makes you feel better about yourself. Is that really a negative? But to me, they're depreciating assets. You buy the clothes, you're not going to get what you paid for them off the rack. You buy furniture, you're not going to ever get any money back if you ever try to sell it and buy new furniture. So why keep on buying assets that go down in value and then replenish those because they've gone down in value with newer, more expensive assets that start to depreciate?
It makes a lot of sense. I feel like I need to go through my closet and just have kind of a check on myself here. Might go try to sell some of my clothes to Plato's Closet, or even Lululemon. Now you can sell back your clothes, but to your point, definitely not going to get what I paid for. I was thinking about this too with myself, like what just in general, what I really struggle to spend money on, and not quite furniture, but home decor. I actually struggle with, and not just like more like the small decor, but I always appreciate when I go to someone's house and I'm like, wow, it's so well decorated. You have this vase with these little crystal balls in it, and it looks so beautiful in the house. But I just can't, the little trinkets, I just really struggle. I'll just decorate my house with Star Wars Legos. That's a lot more rewarding for me.
That makes your father very happy to hear.
Well, Dad, thank you so much for talking really only the surface of money. I know there's so many aspects. I was considering trying to bring up Bitcoin and crypto and all the things, but it's just so far over my head. It would be like money talks for dummies kind of conversation with me. So maybe a part two, but thank you for taking time to chat with us. Before you go, is there any final parting thought with your life experience, a platform, anything else that we have not talked about that you want to share?
I think we covered quite a bit. Hopefully, again, these are the things that have worked for your mother and I, and has worked out for us pretty well. But I am on record too, saying as you grew up, I'm sorry we did the best we could, and we're just the poorest people in the neighborhood, and we struggle to get by. But fortunately, we had food on the table every night, and we had a roof over our head. So I can only
Yeah.
use this platform to offer you my own personal apologies for squeaking by, but we did our best. That's all we did our best.
Yeah, yeah, we really suffered. Uh, well, thank you so much, Dad. I really, really appreciate it. And thank you everybody for tuning in. Come back next week. I hope you have a great day. You deserve it.